From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Billings voters will make an important decision over the next few weeks as they decide the fate of the city's public safety mill levy. So we take a live look at the Magic City on this Thursday evening. Billings has grown considerably since the last time a public safety mill levy was passed back in 2004, with police and fire responding to more calls. Now, the proposed levy would revamp how the city pays for the rising cost of those services and repeals the 16-year-old levy that no longer pays the bills. Q2's Jay Cohn chats with the city's police and fire chiefs to hear their perspective.
The levy at this point is just not losing anything.
Billings Police Chief Rich St. John was hoping to be working on tackling the city's violent crime and homeless situation this year, but COVID-19 has forced a change of plans.
Because of the financial landscape right now, decision was made, let's just not go backwards. And so that's what the ask is. We're not adding anybody, we're not adding anything.
Not adding anything could prove tough on a department that's now on pace to handle a record number of calls this year.
We were about 95,000 last year. We're on pace to 100,000 this year, so we're busy. And if we lose ground, the criminal element hates a vacuum. Whether another, if we arrest somebody else will move in there, but that also holds true for police. If we end up having to pull resources back, somebody's going to fill that void.
The proposed public safety levy would raise 60 mills worth of property taxes. That's $12.2 million this year, money to be shared by the police and fire departments. It's $4 million more than the current levy raises.
You see the increase in calls. PD was talking about 95 to 100. We're 17,000 on track for 18,000 calls for service. So this is just maintaining.
And with more calls, the department's response time begins to slip.
Our response times are literally twice what the national standard is. Twice. That's important to us when you talk CPRs, getting to fires before they get out of control. That's a huge thing. We're assuming we can get there within 4 minutes. That's the goal and the standard. But if you have one truck out in one area, another engine has to come in and cover other calls in that area, you can kind of see the domino effect that we experience. Therefore, everybody's response times are delayed.
Another factor, the demands on today's fire department. Everything from rim rescues to emergency medical response to hazardous material spills, even water rescues. It's little wonder that the levy put in place 16 years ago falls short. Will Billings voters bite the bullet in the name of public safety, even amidst a pandemic? We'll find out 3 weeks from Tuesday. In Billings, Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
Thanks, Jay. And both Chief St. John and Chief Rash will be on hand to discuss the public safety levy tonight at North Park starting at 7 p.m. It's part of the city's outreach to citizens to answer any questions or concerns. Montana added another 143 new COVID-19 cases today. Yellowstone County topped the state with 43 of those cases and is now approaching the 900 mark in active cases. The state is nearing 1,800 active cases. 119 people are currently hospitalized in Montana, while the death toll stands at 98. Governor Steve Bullock says contact testing limits the spread of COVID-19 despite the new guidance from the CDC this week. On its website, the CDC states if you've been in close contact within 6 feet of a person with a COVID-19 infection for at least 15 minutes but don't have symptoms, you do not necessarily need a test unless you're a vulnerable individual or your health care provider or state or local public health officials recommend that you take one. At his news conference this afternoon, the governor recommended taking the test.
I mean, it makes no sense to me, the new CDC guidelines, and to be candid, nor of those in the public health community that I've been speaking with. And just, if you don't know, the new CDC guidance says close contacts don't necessarily need a test. You know, in Montana, and we're putting out information, we're going to continue to do asymptomatic testing of close contacts. We'll be communicating that guidance to providers across the state.
The governor says Montana is a relatively low incidence state and asymptomatic testing can prevent large outbreaks. The Republican National Convention wraps up tonight with President Trump making his acceptance speech from the White House. Two Billings residents have gotten some national attention at the convention. Tanya Weinreis, the owner of Mountain Mud Espresso, appeared on the convention on opening day in a recorded speech. We talked to her earlier this week here on Q2. And then last week in her speech, Second Lady Karen Pence gave a mention to Gyllenhaal Johnson, a culinary artist who opened the Sassy Biscuit in downtown Billings, as she highlighted military spouses. Well, more than 1,000 guests are expected to watch the president officially accept his party's nomination. CBS's coverage of the final night of the RNC begins at 8 right here on Q2. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Mike Cooney unveiled his plan to boost public education in Montana today. In Missoula, Cooney called for increased state spending on public schools, preschool, and state colleges. Cooney said Montana's system of public schools deserves more support during the coronavirus pandemic to ensure it has enough funds to carry out its education duties while keeping students and staff safe. His plan would freeze college tuition, increase state payments that can help increase teacher pay, and expand career and technical education. He also wants to adopt a borrower bill of rights to protect against predatory student loan practices. Cooney was joined by Democratic State Superintendent of Schools candidate Melissa Romano and Montana Federation of Public Employees President Amanda Curtis, who said Cooney will be a champion of public education.
My wife and I sent our 3 kids to public schools in Montana. My son is a teacher in the public school system. And I know how important it is that our public education system is here in Montana because I've lived it.
Cooney is running against Republican Greg Gianforte in the governor's race, as well as Libertarian Lyman Bishop. Operation Supply is a campaign drive coordinated by the United Way of Yellowstone County to help students in Billings and surrounding schools. It's focused on stocking local pantries with school supplies and hygiene items for counselors and teachers to provide to students who are in need. Now, supplies are especially needed this year for students, as well as PPE for classes. The public is invited to help by contributing any of these items. Donations can be dropped by the United Way campus.
Last year when we were delivering it to the school pantry, which the kids can also access for food. And this kid came running in and he's like, I have a science test and I don't have any loose leaf paper and I'm not gonna be able to take it. And so we were just like in the moment digging through the boxes, finding a pack of loose leaf paper, and we gave it to him and he ran off. And it's just moments like that that really show the difference that we're making.
Though the drive is September 16th and 17th, people can donate online at any time. Monetary donations are in turn used to purchase additional school supplies by United Way. New campaign emphasizing the importance of wearing masks is popping up on social media and Montana's Crow Reservation. Youth-led organization Beluga Strong is sharing the images on Facebook. They feature reservation youth wearing a mask and traditional regalia. The organization caught the eye of We Are Montana, but despite the efforts, COVID is still hitting emergency levels across Indian country.
It's due to a number of causes. Our housing crisis, we don't have enough houses for the population, so we're having multi-generational families under the same roof. That contributes to the spread. Some of the houses don't have water or don't have good access to good water, and some houses don't have electricity.
Well, through this campaign, the organization is able to hand out masks in the community. Up next on tonight's MTN 530 News here on Q2, back to school week. It's been a difficult adjustment for nearly everyone, but some are facing even greater challenges. That story coming up next. Then later in sports, the first team sport of the high school season officially underway. We go to Amen Park as Skyview and West kick off their soccer seasons.
Well, here in the Storm Tracker Weather Center, we are in fact tracking some storms. A busy weather night in front of us, potentially some severe weather in the area. We'll give you the complete details in just a little bit.